Senator Dianne Feinstein's office is facing scrutiny after reports revealed it was infiltrated by a Chinese spy for 20 years. Now, new information is released, which may suggest the senator may have played a slightly different role in the affair. One America's Jack Posobiec sits down with an energy research group and breaks down the developments.
Daniel Turner, thank you so much for sitting down with us today. So just last week, this news broke that of collusion, essentially, or a spying, I guess you could say, between a foreign adversary and a U.S. senator's office. And the problem was, it wasn't actually Russia, and it wasn't even a Republican. It was actually a Chinese spy in Dianne Feinstein's office for 20 years. He started as a driver. He ended up being your office manager. What is going on here?
Yeah, and I was a Senate staffer for a while, so it actually surprises me that this person had that sort of low-level position for 20 years. That should raise some red flags. But Dianne Feinstein and her husband have a long history with China. They've had hundreds of millions of dollars of investments that her husband has raised. They've personally invested in China, going back from the 70s and the 80s. But China has been investing into some of the largest green groups in America right now. The National Resources Defense Council is actually under investigation by the House committee whether or not they should register as a foreign agent because of their involvement in American domestic energy production. And so it's just bizarre that this senator who has a Chinese spy in her office, who is just last week putting out press releases from the National Resources Defense Council opposing American energy production. And so there's
and these press releases are essentially written with Chinese funding, by Chinese sponsorship.
If they're written in her office and her office manager is a Chinese spy, it has to make you question who's writing her policy papers, and why would a U.S. senator be opposed to American energy production? We're trying to build a sense of what President Trump calls energy dominance. And yet we have a U.S. senator with a spy in her office who is trying to fight against energy dominance. And that makes perfect sense, because that's what China would want. China doesn't want America to be energy dominant. And so they are funding groups like the NRDC, and they clearly have embedded spies in Senator Feinstein's office. And any other senator or House member who is fighting America's energy production
is now, if we know they were running an operation that long with just one senator, and she is, the ranking member on the Intel committee in the Senate, but at the same time, are there other senators, other congressmen, even just other, functions of our government that could be caught up in the same net? Look, if I'm the Chinese intelligence agency, the MSS, I'm not just running one of these guys.
No, and that's something that I think has to be investigated. Who are the staff members who have these high-level security clearances for the Senate, for the White House, for the administration? We've seemed to be having this repeated pattern the last couple of years of very high-ranking people with high intelligence clearances using it for nefarious purposes. You see what's going on in the Mueller investigation. You see now what's happening with Senator Feinstein. We are giving out, it seems like, security clearances a little too casually, and if someone like China is influencing American energy policy, that's a real red flag.
What is China's goal with influencing our policy, our energy policy?
There's no strategic value in having the United States be the #1 energy producer. And my organization, Power the Future, fights for energy workers, because they're the ones who are at risk when groups like the NRDC or Greenpeace or the Sierra Club shut down coal mines or oil fields, etc. So that's what we advocate for. But China does not want to see America become the world's largest energy producer, because it weakens their position. And so if they can create disruption, just like what Russia tries to do with our energy industry, if they can create disruption and chaos and hurt American energy production, that's good for them, but it's bad for us.
Incredible. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on and breaking this all down for us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One American News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One American News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.